So today we're here to talk about the four balance blockers. So, why just balance seems to be out of reach. How do we boost productivity, especially in this crazy world when we are constantly on? For those that don't know me, my name is Megan Woolerton. I am the owner of Life Force Wellness. Now, even though I have all these certifications as a personal trainer and health coach and stress management, I was not always in wellness. I actually started in oil and gas and burned out. My job in oil and gas industry was on call 24/7, 7 days a week of constant calls at 3 a.m. We did the housing that the guys lived in. And so 60 to 100 hours a week, I'm getting calls. My toilet doesn't flush. My direct TV box doesn't work. I want Paula Deen cookware. As much as these guys are called roughnecks, they were certainly not roughing it out there in the field. And it was my job to make sure that they had everything that they needed. And so just constant calls. And of course, I burned out. As the Marcellus Shale industry kind of dipped here in Pennsylvania, as Chevron and other major players started to move out of the state, my company that I had worked for started to go under. And so I got laid off. And that layoff was a blessing in disguise because once I actually took a step back, I realized I was anxiety ridden. Like I couldn't be more than two steps away from my phone because I had to answer it or else I'd get chewed out by my boss. I was overweight. My complexion was not good. I was very disconnected from friends and family because my entire life had started to become about work. And it was just a really unhealthy place to be. And so that's what put me on this wellness journey. I first became a personal trainer and then evolved into health coaching and all the things you see here, even in positive psychology. And so for the last 12 years, I've now been working with clients, helping them to get healthier. But over time, I kept seeing these four themes come up in my clients' lives. There was these four issues that kept coming up that kept my clients from really achieving wellness, from achieving that next goal that they were going after. And I had to ask myself, really what was it? I kept seeing these themes pop up, but I really wanted to distill it. I have these clients, they're amazingly smart. I mean, these are VPs, these are presidents of major organizations, these are professional athletes and their families. These are really smart, capable people who seem to have it all together, that seem to be, doing really well, and yet they're still struggling with balance. They're struggling with energy, with productivity, with caring for themselves. And so I try to distill it down. What is going on? Is it poor time management? A lot of us do struggle with, how we spend our time. Maybe we're, spending too much time on TikTok or watching Netflix when we should be grinding it out. I mean, I even have like little tools like this toggle thing that you keep on your desk and you can manage your time and try to be better. That's not even charged right now. Is it misaligned priorities? People just not putting the right priority at the right time. They're focused on things over here that don't really matter and they're not focusing on the big picture items. Is it that they overcommitted? They said yes to too many things. And it's like, yes, these are common things that keep coming up. And the resources that were available to them were like time management tools, like my little toggle, and calendars that said set your priorities for the day and workshops on setting healthy boundaries. But what I really came down to is that it didn't matter how many tools and resources you gave them to time block their day or to say no, it has to start with the mind. Because if the mind's not right, if they're not in the right mindset to say no and set that boundary, if they're not really in the mindset to really want to focus on how they're spending their energy and their time, they're not going to do it. So it really came down to a mindset issue. And this is really important because we have lots of companies that are talking about burnout. We have lots of people that are talking about burnout. I know I'm not the only one that is posting a webinar today talking about stress and burnout. 77% of professionals say that they have experienced burnout. And the thing is, it's not seeming to get any better. Even though we're all talking about it, it really doesn't seem to be getting any better. Burnout is one of the top three reasons that employees leave their job. So I'm curious, is there anyone on this call here that has left a job because it was just a toxic environment and like they just got really burned out? Just put in the chat. Like that was me. I know like me leaving the oil and gas, that was a blessing. I was totally burned out. Anyone leave a job because of burnout? I can't be alone here.
I don't think we can write in the chat. Is
Oh,
it,
well, if you want to unmute or give me a thumbs up, then we'll do that. Chat should be open to everyone. Here we go. Open it up to everyone. There you go. Go ahead and try to put it in the chat now. I want this to be interactive. I want you guys to be able to put it in there. All right. Are you able to write in the chat? Somebody give it a try. There we go. Yep. Quit your job 19 years ago. No backup plan. Just to get absolutely. God bless you. I mean, you had to be really in survivor mentality because to leave without a backup plan, that's intense. Yep. I'll turn up the volume. All right. So there's a couple of you on here that have left a job because of burnout. And it's not just us, the employees on this end that are feeling it. Stress costs US companies $300 billion annually and lost productivity, absenteeism, and turnover. So this is not just an us issue. Like, yes, we're experiencing the burnout, but companies want to solve this too. And so I've been working with companies, with individuals, trying to help them solve this issue with burnout. And, it doesn't matter how many yoga classes your employer does, you're still going to be stressed, especially if your boss is a jerk. It doesn't matter how many breathing techniques they give you. That is not what I'm about. I'm really about taking a holistic approach. And it's important that we do something about it that's actually meaningful. Because what I'm seeing is this horrible cycle that when we are, struggling to find balance, we obviously have more stress. When we're stressed out, we tend to focus less, then we make more mistakes. More mistakes mean more pressure on us. And it's just this awful cycle that we're just constantly in. It doesn't matter, how many time block schedules we've tried, how many times we've talked to a manager about our workload. Like we're just in this awful cycle that we can't seem to get out of. And this has a ripple effect. Like, yeah, you might have left your job because you were burned out, but how many of you also experienced this at home? Anyone want to share? Like, at work, maybe you had disengagement, missed deadlines, and strained relationships, but then you also brought that into the home and you were irritable. Maybe you were like me, totally disconnected from your loved ones. You get home at the end of the day and you have no energy for your kids or your spouse. Anyone feeling that right now? Or even your health, because this does bleed into health. So, insomnia, anxiety, increased need for heart disease and depression. If you're somebody that's struggling with one of those health issues, I definitely want to hear about it. So, what causes us to be out of balance? What are those mindsets? That's what we're here to learn today. The first is incongruence. The second is public stigma. The third is internal stigma. And the fourth is ambiguity. And we're going to deep dive into each one of these. So, first, that mindset issue is incongruence. So, this is when our beliefs don't match our actions. So, an example of this, I get clients that come to me and say, I want to advance in my career. I want to move up that next level in my career. But when a promotion opens up or a manager's role opens up, they don't apply for it. And I sit there and I scratch my head, like, what is going on? Because you keep telling me you have this belief that you are ready to move up. You keep telling me you want to go to the next level, but like your actions don't say that. This could be something like imposter syndrome. They might be dealing with a level of imposter syndrome or just a pure lack of confidence that they want to move up, but they're not sure in their abilities. Another example I see very commonly with my clients is I want to spend more time with my friends. I wish I had more time to hang with the boys, or I want to have a girls' night. Great. But then when they call and they say, hey, we're going out tonight, you want to come? You go, nah, I'd rather stay at home and watch Netflix. What's going on there? Like you keep saying you want to have time with your friends, but then you make excuses to not go and stay at home. It might be that you don't have a full sense of belonging with those friends. Like what's going on there? We need to really dive in. So there's a strong congruence. And a lot of times, too, it comes down to the action that you need to take is not actually in alignment with your values. So it might be something that, yeah, I would like to step up into that director role, but I also don't know that I even want to be here at this company anymore. I don't know that it fully aligns with the values that I have now. Maybe you've evolved. You've accepted new values into your life. Same thing with the friends. A lot of times the actions, the things they want to do, it's not what I want to do. It's okay. Sometimes we just go through these life changes and these seasons. And right now, this isn't where you want to be. And it's figuring that out. What are your real values? What are the beliefs you hold? And then let's take action towards those. The second one is public stigma. This is, I say yes because I feel like I can't say no. I have to do something because it's what others expect me to do. So I have to take on this big project at work because it's what my boss expects me to do. I don't want this project. I don't have any passion for this project, but my boss gave it to me and I don't want to say no to them. Or I have to look a certain way or act a certain way or be a certain way because it's what society expects of me. I have to conform to what others have planned for me. This really gets us into people pleasing, and people pleasing is a fast way to burn out. This is really putting those values on the back burner, yourself on the back burner to help everyone else around you. And so I see with my clients this constant people pleasing and this guilt and shame around saying no. So they say yes to everything and they overcommit themselves on things that they're not passionate about. The third is the internal stigma. So this is that self criticism, that fear of failure, the thought of I'm not good enough, which I hear constantly from people. So, an example of this is my kids are having a bake sale. Nobody cares if I run to the store and buy Chips Ahoy cookies, put them on a plate, and send them to the bake sale. As long as there are cookies to sell at the bake sale, everyone's happy. But me personally, I feel like a failure if I don't make them at home from scratch with all organic ingredients. I'm a bad mom if I just buy Chips Ahoy and I don't make organic cookies fresh from home. Ridiculous. Nobody is putting that level on me. Nobody is telling me I have to make them. Everyone's happy with the Chips Ahoy. But I personally, internally, feel like a failure because I did not meet a certain level of expectation that I set for myself. The fourth one is ambiguity. And while it is one of the most common, it's also one of the easiest ones to remedy. Ambiguity is not having clear goals, no success metrics. It's this idea that you're constantly spinning your wheels. What you need to do here is go back and revisit what it means to set a SMART goal: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. An example: think about running a marathon or a race. The gun goes off and you start running, and there are no mile markers and there's no finish line. Eventually, you're going to collapse and you're going to feel like an utter failure because you didn't achieve anything. That's what happens when we don't set clear goals. So when you come to me and you say, I want to be successful, I want to be wealthy, I want to be fit, I want to be healthy, what does that actually mean? How many dollars do you need in your bank account to be wealthy? You know, what's the definition of healthy for you? What is it that you need to be able to achieve? How is it that you need to feel? You know, is there a pant size you need to get into? Is there a physical goal that you want to achieve? What is it that you're actually trying to succeed in? What is the finish line? How do you know when you're finished? And on the flip side of this, when do you celebrate wins? Because we all need a little victory here and there. And if there's no mile marker, when you're running a race, if any of you have ever run a race, I've done it, it's awful. I hate running, but I make myself sign up for them every year. It's so nice when you get to that, okay, 1 mile down, you know, so many more to go. second mile down. It's nice to have that little celebration. Okay, I got another mile in. I got another mile in. We need to make sure we're having those victories. So, how do these manifest in our lives? And I'd like to know if any of this sounds familiar to you. If you are struggling with incongruence, you are most likely struggling with procrastination, meaning you avoid a lot of the hard stuff, but it still steals your peace of mind. So, in the example of wanting to go for the promotion, having the conversation with your employer about wanting to apply for that promotion or move up a level, that's a hard conversation to have. And so you're avoiding it. And instead, now you're ruminating on what it would be like if you had that conversation. And it's stealing your peace of mind. And you're just not taking that next hard step. Public stigmas, we already talked about this. It's people pleasing. That's the number one way it's going to manifest. You say yes to everything and everyone and leave no energy or time for yourself. Self care is not something that you are practicing because you are too burned out and too run ragged doing everything for everyone else that you have not taken the time to focus on yourself. Internal stigmas, this turns into perfectionism. Nothing's ever going to feel good enough for you. You could have always done better. You never feel like anything's ever done. It doesn't matter, what you did, what you achieved, what you accomplished. It could have been better. You wish you had more time to just perfect this next little thing, tweak this little thing over there. Nothing's ever good enough for you. And ambiguity is this pressure to do it all. You feel like you can't stop. You're in that grind culture, you're in that hustle culture, you're running on empty, but you just got to do that next thing and then that next thing. Oh, yeah, I'll get together with you when things slow down, but it never slows down with you, does it? There's always this pressure to keep working and keep doing the next thing. What is it for you? I think I'm going to give you some things that you can do to help you one way or another. So, just making sure no one else. So, if you are struggling with incongruence, then what you need to do is be focusing on spending time in reflection. What is it that you value? What are you setting your priorities to? Um, One of the things I do with my clients is I actually do a tournament of tasks. So this is think about making like a March Madness bracket and all of the tasks you have to do. Put them on little sticky notes or make a bracket. Here's all the things I have to do. I have to do the laundry, I have to do the dishes, I have to send these emails, I have to finish that project, update that spreadsheet, balance the checkbook, pay the bills, whatever it is. All the things you have to do in a day, put them in a bracket and then make them almost like fight each other. Which one's going to take priority? Well, I got to do the laundry because if I don't do the laundry, I'm going to go to work naked tomorrow. So I'm going to do the laundry over the dishes, right? And move it into the bracket. And as you kind of make these like face off against each other, you'll get to like your final two. And so you want to make sure that you are, getting down to those last two. Those are your top two priorities. And you can do this a couple of different times. So make sure that you are going through this enough times that you can get those top uh, priorities that are really most important to you. Put it into perspective and run this as many times as you need to really get a list of what needs to be done first and what needs to be done last. The next is public stigmas. Learn to say no guilt free. Who is it that you feel comfortable going to and saying, hey, I know I signed up for X, but I'm really feeling burned out. Can you ask somebody else to do it? Or I'm going to have to say no at this time. If you've already overcommitted yourself, is there anyone you can pull in to help you? Or is there anyone you can delegate some of those tasks to? So figuring out like what it is that you can turn down, what you can delegate. That tournament of tasks can also help you. Whatever is really low priority, if you're doing it for someone else, maybe going to them and just saying, listen, I've got 100 other priorities ahead of this. I can't take this on right now. Internal stigmas, go back and review SMART goals with a focus on the R, realistic. What is realistic for you right now? What is reasonable for you right now? I'm not saying that you can't make organic cookies for the bake fair, But maybe just right now in this season of your life, that's not the high priority and it's not realistic for you to take that on. Try to spend some time putting things into perspective of what is my main focus? What am I most curious about doing? What am I most passionate about doing right now? And what's getting in the way of that? And be realistic when you set those goals for yourself. And then ambiguity, one of the best things you can do is celebrate your wins. I have a lot of clients that don't sleep well at night because they're constantly ruminating on all the things left undone. I didn't get this done. I didn't get that done. I still need to send that email. And they're up late at night and they're ruminating on it. They're not sleeping. Sleep is so vital to your health. What I have them do is flip the script. At night before you go to bed, start listing out all the things that you got done. What were your, even if it's just your three biggest accomplishments for the day? Let's be real. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. If they are alive, I made a big accomplishment. I fed my children, bathed them, clothed them, and kept them alive today. That's an accomplishment. That's a win for the day. I got those emails out. I did the dishes or the laundry. I got myself cleaned up and showered. I worked on that project. I taught that webinar. Whatever it is that you accomplish that day, put it down and start looking at how things pile up because a lot of times we do these tasks constantly. Sometimes we do tasks on autopilot but we don't give ourselves any credit for it. And then we sit there and we think like I'm not good enough, I'm not getting things done. When you really spend the time to list out all the things you did accomplish, it really helps to boost that overall mood, put things into perspective. It also calms the brain if you do this before bed so you can fall asleep a lot more easily. So, how do you really break free from burnout? Well, this is just the first step. This awareness of these four mindsets is the first step to breaking free. If you want real change, you need to put a system into place. You need to build sustainable habits that you can do, and you need some kind of accountability, whether that's an accountability partner or a coach. I'm about to launch a 3-day balance challenge. We're going to start at September 30th. So if you're realizing, like, yeah, I'm such a procrastinator because of exactly what you're saying, or I am such a people pleaser and I need to get free from that, this 3-day challenge is going to help you get that. So while this webinar was free to help raise awareness, there is a $35 fee for the 3-day challenge, but it's 30 minutes a day. We're going to go through, we're going to have open discussion. I'm going to give you the tools and the resources to kind of break the mold and try to find that balance. And space is limited for this. So if you want to check it out, you can go to our website. There's also a QR code here on the screen. So you can scan that QR code and learn more about the Optimize 60 program. I have a full 60-day coaching program on doing things like the prioritization, the tournament of tasks, breaking the mindset, setting the healthy boundaries. But if you want a taste of that, a 3-day challenge, definitely scan this QR code, visit our website, and check it out. And I just appreciate you guys coming today. I want to be respectful of your time. It is 1:30. If you've got any questions, I want to leave it open for you to ask those here and now in the chat. I'm going to let you guys get back to your day. I hope that this was helpful and that it helps you kind of break the mold and you guys enjoy. I'll definitely reach out to me if I can do anything to help you.